A very good evening to you, boss. Welcome to World Now at 4 on Hills TV. I am Uduak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, fire guts a story building in Lagos. Still on the headlines, Gambia says cough syrup not yet confirmed the cause of child deaths. Also on the headlines, suspected Pelosi attacker to face charges. And on sports, Home Eagles begin preparation for Costa Rica friendly. And now the news in detail. The federal government has called the Nigerians not to panic over the security threat alert from the U.S. and the United Kingdom, that is the U.S. and the U.K. respectively. This was made known by the National Security Advisor, Babagana Munguno, in Abuja during a Security Council meeting with the President in the State House in Abuja. Munguno said there was no call for the alarm as the attack was not against Nigerians but for the U.S. citizens who are in Nigeria, describing the security threat as irresponsible.
The alert was targeted at the citizens of the United States residing in Nigeria in Abuja, not at the larger Nigerian society. Now, if that thing has cascaded to give a different impression, coloration, there's nothing anybody can do. The damage, whether it is intended or unintended, the damage has been done. People's minds have been, attuned to a state of insecurity, which is quite bad.
Also speaking at the council meeting was the Minister of Defense, Lucky Rabo, who called for calm among citizens, demanding them to go back to their normal business activities.
The armed forces, the police, and other security agencies are working around the clock to ensure that lives and properties of Nigerians are protected. And so far, there's no cause for alarm, and Nigerians should go about their normal duties as the armed forces and all the security agencies are well poised to protect them accordingly.
The U.S. Embassy sent a signal last week to the federal government of Nigeria over a terrorist attack that was about to take place in the Federal Capital Territory, that is the FCT. And now taking you away from that and getting you to Ogun State and having you know that Ogun State Police Command has arrested a couple, Godday and Ebere Samuel, for alleged involvement in human trafficking. They were arrested on October 17, 2022, following a report lodged at Atang Ota, a divisional headquarters by one Adeniji Okikuolu, who reported that his 16-year-old daughter, Maria Adeniji, suddenly disappeared from home on October 16, 2022. However, while a search party was organized to look for her, he was informed that the missing girl was seen with Ebere Samuel the previous day. Upon the information, Ebere Samuel was invited to the station, but she vehemently denied ever seeing the missing girl on or before that day. Not satisfied with her plea, she was subsequently detained at the station. Surprisingly, when her husband was contacted, the husband confessed to having taken the missing Maria somewhere in Lagos for onward transportation to Burkina Faso, where she will be engaged as a maid to one of their associates. Preliminary investigation revealed that a couple has been into the business of human trafficking and that their accomplices are in Burkina Faso. The State Commissioner of Police, Lanre Bankole, has ordered the immediate transfer of the suspects to the Anti-Human Trafficking and Child Labor Unit of the State's Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department, that is the SCIID, for discreet investigation and diligent prosecution. Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service have successfully put out the fire that gutted a building on Adeola Odeku Street on the Victoria Highland. The agency said it received distressed calls of fire outbreak at about 11:03 a.m. on Tuesday, and rescue operation commenced almost immediately. Spokesperson of the agency, Amodu Shakiru, who confirmed the incident, said the details about the fire outbreak will be communicated later. Amodu said the fire was met well lighted and firefighters swung into action and successfully arrested it. The building is located in a business environment. When we return, news from other parts of Africa. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is The World Now at 4 on Hills TV. Still talking more stories. Gambia Medicines Control Agency said on Monday it has not yet confirmed that toxic cough syrup was the cause of the deaths of 70 children from acute kidney injury. The small West African state has been investigating a mysterious slew of child deaths in recent months, which police said in a preliminary investigation was linked to 4 cough syrups made in India. World Health Organization, that is the WHO, investigators have found unacceptable levels of the ethylene, the glycol and ethylene glycol in the products, which were made by New Delhi-based Maiden Pharmaceuticals Limited. Away from that story, Issa Saleh, Adom, Osman Yaboims, Ranjia and Tahir Mahamat, who were accused of taking part in an attack by the 3R armed group in May 2019, in which 46 villages in northwest CAR were massacred, have been convicted of crimes against humanity and handed jail terms from 20 years to life imprisonment on Monday. This is the first ever trial a UN-backed court in the Central African Republic, that is the CAR, the Special Criminal Court, a tribunal of local and international judges, sentenced Adom to life and the others to 20 years. The 3R, that is Return, Reclamation and Rehabilitation, is one of the most powerful of these militias, drawing its members mainly from the Fulani ethnic group, also called Pils. The tribunal was set up in 2015 with UN backing, but struggled for years to get going in the face of logistical hurdles, lack of money and local hostility. The special court's mandate applies to war crimes and crimes against humanity dating back to 2003. We now move to other parts of the world after this break. Stay with us. Always a delight to have you back and talking more stories. American officials have on Monday pressed charges against 42-year-old David, who allegedly broke into the home of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and attacked her husband Paul. Hours later, San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins announced a slew of additional state charges, including attempted murder.
Mr. DePape specifically targeted the Pelosi home to confront Speaker Pelosi. He forced his way into the home through a rear glass door by breaking that glass. The defendant made his way upstairs to the second floor of the home, locating Mr. Pelosi in his bed sleeping. He woke him up, confronting him about the whereabouts of Speaker Pelosi.
She said that Papi wanted to hold the Democratic leader hostage and break her kneecaps. She would then have to be wheeled into Congress to make an example of her for other politicians. The federal charges carry a maximum sentence of 50 years in prison. The Papi faces up to 13 years in prison if convicted on the state charges. The Justice Department said the Papi was found to have tape, rope, zip ties, and other materials with him. And now taking you to China, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for accelerated building of a world-class military as he kicked off the Communist Party Congress, that is the CPC. According to reports, about 2,300 delegates from around the country gathered in the vast Great Hall of the People on the west side of Tiananmen Square amid tight security for the week-long Congress, which has kicked off. Xi, 69, is widely expected to win a third leadership term at the conclusion of the Congress, cementing his place as China's most powerful ruler since Mao Zedong. Xi described the 5 years since the last party congress as extremely uncommon and abnormal during a speech that lasted less than 2 hours. In a related development, Xi called for strengthening the ability to maintain national security. ensuring food and energy supplies, security supply chains, improving the ability to deal with disasters, and protecting personal information. China has repeatedly emphasized its commitment to Xi's zero-COVID strategy in recent days, dashing hopes among countless Chinese citizens as well as investors that Beijing might begin exiting anytime soon, a policy that has caused widespread frustration and economic damage. The federal government of Nigeria on Monday announced that the estimated performance of Nigeria's domestic gas supply obligation rose by 14.14% to 64.8% in 2021. It said this was against the 50.66% that was achieved in 2020, noting that efforts were being intensified to further grow the country's gas supply volumes in 2022. The chief executive of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed, disclosed this at the 2023 Domestic Gas Demand Requirements Workshop in Abuja. He explained that Nigeria's gas demand requirement also rose marginally by 5.9% to 250 million standard cubic feet per day in 2022. Ahmed said, as at the end of September 2021, the estimated performance of the domestic gas supply obligation was 64.8% compared to 50.66% achieved in 2020. When comparing the total domestic supply obligation allocation to the actual daily supply met. The NMDPRA boss, however, noted that despite the improved performance recorded in 2021, the domestic gas market had continued to experience significant challenges. Ahmed, however, assured participants at the workshop that all necessary preparations had been made to ensure that this year's gas demand requirement was coordinated in a safe, productive, and efficient manner. President Joe Biden has accused oil companies of war profiteering as he raised the possibility of imposing a windfall tax if companies don't boost domestic production. In remarks on Monday, just over a week away from the 8th November midterm elections, Biden criticized major oil companies for making record profits while refusing to help lower prices at the pump for the American people. The president said he would look to Congress to levy tax penalties on oil companies if they don't begin to invest some of their profits in lowering costs for American consumers.
You know, at a time of war, any company receiving historic windfall profits like this has a responsibility to act beyond their narrow self-interest of its executives and shareholders. I think they have a responsibility to act in the interest of their consumers, their community, and their country. To invest in America by increasing production and refining capacity, because they don't want to do that. They have the opportunity to do that. Lowering prices for consumers at the pump.
Over the last 2 quarters, leading oil giants earned over $100 billion more than they earned all of last year, and more than 22.5 times what they earned in the same quarter of 2021. He said on one of the companies used its record profits to provide shareholders with FT dividends and buybacks, but failed to invest in production improvements that would benefit consumers. Reports showed that high prices at a pump have exacerbated inflation and have taken a toll on Biden and Democrats standing among others. Still to come on The World Now at 4 is sports. Don't go away.
Good evening and many thanks for joining us on the World Now at 4. Now it's Sport News. I'm Richard Badung. Home-based Super Eagles started preparations for the international friendly against Costa Rica in Ibadan on Monday. The game is billed for San Jose on November 10. A number of under-23 players will be a part of the squad that face Tanzania in the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, trained under the supervision of head coach Salisu Yusuf. A number of foreign-based players are expected to link up with the team later. The players and their officials are expected to travel to San Jose for the game later on Thursday. Costa Rica will use the game as part of their preparations for the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Right from that football matter now to tennis, where Tunisian second seed Ons Jabeur lost on our WTA finals debut at Arena Sabalenka fought back to win on the opening night of the season-ending event. Wimbledon and US Open finalist Jabeur was beaten 3-6, 7-6, 7-5 by Belarusian 7th seed Sabalenka. Earlier, Greek 5th seed Maria Sakkari opened the singles tournament, which features the 8 best players of the year, by beating Jessica Pegula. Sakkari won 7-6, 7-6, that is on 7-4 against the American 3rd seed in Texas. The finals, which also see the top 8 teams of 2022 play in doubles, are being held in Fort Worth this year, and there was a sparse crowd on the opening day. Still on that, Poland's world number 1, Iga Swiatek, and American 18-year-old Coco Gauff play in the singles later today, opening their bids for the trophy against Russian 8th seed Daria Kasatkina and Francis Carolina Garcia, respectively. And away from that, now to Liverpool, where Jurgen Klopp has said being Liverpool manager is not just about when the sun is shining, as the dismissed suggestions his squad is in decline. The Reds host Napoli later tonight after already qualified for the knockout stages of the UEFA Champions League. However, they have struggled in the Premier League and sit 9th after winning only 4 games of their opening 12 matches. Liverpool's tally total of 16 points marks their worst points, returning after 12 games since Klopp took charge of the club in 2015. With successive defeats by strugglers Nottingham Forest and Leeds, leaving the club 15 points adrift of leaders Arsenal and 8 of a top 4 spot. Klopp's current starting 11 also has one of the oldest average ages in the English top flight, with the likes of Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah, Roberto Firmino, Thiago Alcantara, and Jordan Henderson, all 30 and above. And that's your sport news on World Now at 4. Back to Udwak Daniel for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badum.
Thank you, Richard Badung, for that one on sport. Talking more stories, more than 20 international delegations of professional dancers took part in the 17th edition of the World Salsa Festival. Findings show that spectacular dance moves and strong beat animated the 2-day event in Cali, Western Colombia. Amateur competition also attracted many dancers. In his black and white tuxedo, Andre Ludo champions dances as the best sports routine. He says salsa is extremely popular in South America and the Caribbean. The Cuban salsa style or the salsa rueda are just 2 of the 6 main different styles that exist. Salsa school owner Maria Isabel Velez told reporters that people came from all over the world to learn their style, adding that there are different ways of dancing salsa, but the Cali style has taken the world by storm. Many parts of the world were indeed represented during the festival, solo as well as couple competitors from Latin America, Asia or Europe showed off their best moves. Professional dancer Mongorane Guillaume explains that in Switzerland, people mostly know how to dance salsa cubana and LA-style salsa. 111 elite dancers were awarded in the different categories in which over 1,000 competed to be crowned the best salsa dancers on the planet. And that's the world now at 4, but before we go, a quick look at our top stories. We told you fire got story building in Lagos. We also told you Gambia says cough syrup not yet confirmed as cause of child deaths. We brought to the fore the fact that suspected Pelosi attacker to face charges. And we also told you Home Eagles begin preparation for Costa Rica friendly. And that's the size of the news. Remember to follow us across social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel, all at Hills TV. I'm Uduak Daniel. Thank you for watching.